hit that subscribe button. That way you know exactly when I upload new videos. All right, so like exactly how I did with Hotel Redondo, I showed you exactly where it was. That way you can, next time you go to the beach, you can look up and say, that's where Hotel Redondo is. You have more of a connection that way. I grew up seeing hundreds of pictures of the plunge and all that stuff, but no one ever told me where they were. So I'm gonna show you exactly where the plunge is. Let's do it. All right, so there's Hotel Redondo, right where I showed you before, Veterans Park. And there's the plunge right there facing Old Tony's. If you're walking up the stairs, it would be on your right-hand side. Just for a second, look at that picture. Look how big and grand it is. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous building. It's a shame it's gone. So in 1915, the plunge had 155,000 patrons, which is a lot of people when you come to think about it. The Redondo Beach plunge is by far the largest on the coast. The building has 1,300 dressing rooms, and there is room for 1,500 people in the water at the same time. But of course, that's with no swimming, but that's a lot of people if you think about it. The most people that visited the plunge in a one-day period was 7,100 people. That is a lot of people. The largest pool in the plunge is 70 feet by 157 feet in size. That's half the size of a football field, and that's just one of the swimming pools. Amazing. That tall chimney you see is part of the system which provided heat from large boilers through an underground system of pipes directly from the Pacific Light and Power's steam plant, which was also used to heat the swimming pools. In 1909, Henry Huntington built a huge 3-story building called the Plunge. It was 43,000 feet and sat right on the waterfront. It's beautiful. Billed as the largest indoor saltwater heated pool in the entire world, which nobody ever disputed. Inside, there were 3 pools, each heated by warm salt water from directly Huntington's Pacific Power Plant. There were 1,350 dressing rooms, 2 first aid stations, and a section devoted to Turkish and steam baths. Whatever that means, I'm not sure. The water inside of the plunge was always kept between 80 and 90 degrees. The Saltwater Plunge was one of the West Coast's greatest attractions for a lot of years. Let's go inside and check this place out, get some bathing suits, and have some fun. Let's do it. The plunge had 3 stories. The second floor was dedicated completely to the women, separate from the men. It had 3 women attendants on hand constantly. Whatever you needed, they would provide for you. This floor also provides hot and cold tub baths, showers, massage, and hairdressing parlors, and their own restrooms. The plunge will always have on hand 8,000 bathing suits to rent and 20,000 towels to dry off with. That's incredible. The plunge will also keep the beach next to it free of all seaweed and trash by a force of workmen who will go over it constantly, making good the claim of the management that Redondo Beach is the cleanest beach on the West Coast. Henry Huntington put a lot of advertising into the plunge. The cost was $175,000 to build. Here's a pin I have in my Redondo Beach collection. The plunge had 7,000 lights illuminating it. How beautiful that must have been. There was often diving exhibitions held at the plunge off of their 25-foot diving board. So the grand opening of the plunge was a huge affair. Thousands and thousands of people showed up for this. But now here today, guess what we get to do? We get to hear from people that were at the plunge, that have swam in the plunge. These are like, old school Redondo Beach guys and girls. Let's hear what they have to say and have some fun.
What do you remember about the plunge? Did you ever go to the plunge here in Redondo Beach?
Quite often, yeah. We went there, probably once a week. It was huge. I was really impressed with the size.
And did it have diving boards?
Oh, yes, diving boards, all different heights, and it was just a huge plunge.
And do you remember was it warm or cold water?
Warm water, and it was always crowded. There were always a lot of people there.
We would bum some money from our parents, and we'd have a ticket, and we could change into a swimsuit, and we would swim in the plunge, and then we'd go out and swim in the ocean. You had some kind of a pass, I forget how they did it, and you could get back in. Then we'd warm up in the plunge.
And we would go in there, and people, they had the 2 and 3 foot area, and then they had a very long 4 feet to 5.5 or 6 feet, and then the very end of it was 9 foot, and they had the diving board there, and 9 foot, and we just spend most of our time in the 4 to 6 feet, and spend our time just if somebody is throwing a penny or a nickel, diving for it and having fun there. It's very nice.
Come with me and we'll attend their jubilee and see them spend their last 2 bits.
And the plunge and other things, when you were a kid, what did you do for fun as a kid?
We'd go into the plunge and watch. They wouldn't allow us. They wouldn't allow us in there because we were Mexican, I guess, because that's all we had. Mexicans and the Japanese people and I had a cousin, light complected guy, and used to get a kick out of it because they let him in because he looked white, and so he used to get a kick out of that. He could go into the plunge, and we were on the outside looking in, But that was all right. I didn't know how to swim anyway.
Car down. It would cost a dime from where we lived to get down to Redondo. I'd swim the big plunge, and I remember sitting on that kind of a walkway or something that divided the plunge in half, sitting there and watching everybody, and that was always a big deal. But I remember taking me in the plunge, and she'd swim in the deep section, she'd leave me in that more shallow section, and there would be always a lot of kids around. That was a big treat.
Too, and it was the most wonderful thing because the water had 3 temperatures in it, and I'll talk about that a little bit because we were there so much and we loved it so much. Well, it looked giant to me, and it was a very large place. The red car stopped right in front of it, and it was so. Then the second section on the wall in the middle had a bubbling fountain, which would bubble salt water out of it, and sometimes I'd sit under that while it was just bubbling all over me, and it was so fun. It also had dressing rooms because people would come from all over LA, but we just go in that pool and that plunge, and it was just the funnest thing alive. And I remember when they tore it down and demolished it, and we were so disappointed because that was our just fun thing. I don't know. It was so fun in those days. And so
if people got hungry, they could come outside, get some fresh air, stuff like that. Anyways, that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip on my bathing suit. Be careful, ladies. And we'll go over what year the plunge closed and why it closed. So I'll see you in 10 minutes. Meet you inside the plunge. Oh, the plunge is that way. Ha ha ha. So the plunge finally closed its doors in 1941 due to the fact that I think people became more accustomed to going outdoors at the beach. People felt more safe swimming in the ocean. Before, people were afraid of the ocean. That's why piers were such a big draw. It gave them a sense of power walking over the ocean. Plus George Freeth set up his lifeguard program, which maybe we'll go into next. But also I think there was so much metal and salt water. If you live by the ocean, you know what salt water does. The upkeep of that place must have been incredible. So the swimming pools were filled in with cement and the area was made into a parking lot. All right, so let's move on, and hope you enjoyed the plunge, and it was a great place, and let's go. Yeah. You guys, check out these videos. They're better than the one you just watched, trust me. And hit that subscribe button. I'll be uploading new videos every week. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Let's go to the next video. Click, 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 click.